Hi, my kiddos. I'm finally delivering on the videos I promised. Mom's Musings, we decided to call them. Carolyn and I came up with that. And so my plan is to just share with you some thoughts about life, some of the things I've learned and experienced in life. I'll focus on personal growth. And my main goal is to share thoughts with you that might ultimately help advance my greatest goals for you, my greatest wishes for you, which is obviously for your health and happiness and your personal success, however you end up defining it. And by the way, personal success is going to change over time. As you go through life and your different phases of life, your ideas about success will change. But yes, this is meant to be a place for us to talk about those kinds of things. And I don't want to just rant and go off in different tangents and topics. So what I'm going to try to do is use my learnings from Noom as kind of a guidepost. And I'll focus on them because, as I've mentioned before, I used Noom to lose weight, and it was really helpful with that. But it also was really about achieving your goals and objectives in life and finding balance in life. And so it really went way beyond just weight loss goals. So I want to share some of those thoughts. Some of them are more, like you could see more directly how they relate to weight loss. But some of them can apply to any and all goals that you have. I'm really nervous about this. I'm really self-conscious about this, but I'm just going to take a leap of faith and go with humility and trust, because it's awkward to see yourself and to hear yourself. So, and I'm not going to be the most organized and focused and whatever. So I'm just going to put it out there for what it's worth. I'm going to start low tech. I've never edited a video, so I'm probably going to see if I could just do this with one take, which means it'll be less than perfect, but oh well. Let me know what you think. Let me know if some of the things seem relevant to you. Let me know if there are other things that just don't seem to relate. Let me know if you've got thoughts on the topic. Let me know if there's any topics that you want me to discuss or not. Give me feedback, whether it's a phone call or text or email, or I don't even know if you could do comments on the YouTube channel. If you want to do it that way, that's fine too. All right, so today I want to start by talking about setting goals, making SMART goals, something that Noom calls the behavior chain, and thought distortions that can kind of mess you up as you're heading towards your goals, and how to overcome them. So if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at some notes from Noom. So bear with me. So one of the first things they taught us in Noom is that you have to think about, they call it as your super goal. What Noom means about your super goal is what I want to accomplish from this program. So what do I want to accomplish for losing weight? Whether it was a reduction in size, getting to a certain weight, fitting into a certain piece of clothing or whatever it was, that's my goal that I want to accomplish from this program. But then they said, think about why and the ultimate why. So it's not just about getting into a different dress size, but why do I want to do that? Is it because of the improvement to my self-esteem that will come with that? Is it because I'll be healthier and be able to be more physically active and be stronger? And then they want me to think about how my life will be different once I achieve that goal and to really visualize it. And that's what they call your big picture. So you want to come up with, start with maybe your short-term goal, what you want to accomplish, in the next 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is. And then figure out why it is that you want to accomplish that. What's really motivating you? How will your life be different if you accomplish this? And imagine your big picture. So, Carolyn, I'll use you as an example here. If you were to choose as a goal, and one of the things I've talked to you about is, making your room more organized. Now, it's not just, if that were your goal, why would you want an organized room? Well, it's nice. Like I said, it feels good to walk into a neater room. You're less likely to have tensions with your roommate if you've got a neater room. But more important than that is you'll have a sense of self-control. Like you'll feel more organized, more in control. And when you need to find something, you'll much more likely know where it is. And if you have, if you pay attention to organizing your documents and paying attention to your schedule while you organize your room, you're just going to be more on top of things, and you won't have last minute panics. And, and overall, life can be that much more comfortable and assuring. So that's just an example, and it doesn't have to be your goal. But the point is, you can have a specific goal, but then think about why it is that you want it, and what's really motivating you, and how will life be different and better if you achieve this specific goal, whatever it is. So I don't really mean to pick on you, Carolyn, but it was just an example that came to my head that shows you, besides the weight one, how this might apply in life. Your ultimate why should be something that excites you, something that it's going to be important in your life, and you think, life is going to be, notably better if you actually achieve this. And that's really, clear with my weight loss. I'm getting back on track on Noom. I'm really happy about it so far in the new year, starting fresh. Dad's doing it with me. He's having some great success. And that's really motivational. But for me, it kind of came in 2 steps. There's the first, what I accomplished in the first, 6 months or so of being on Noom. And then I kind of stalled and plateaued for a while. But people notice I lost about 50 pounds, and I feel so much better. I feel so much more self-confident. There's just so many ways that I feel better about my life, and I'm restarting to lose some more after a long period of kind of plateau. And my vision for losing even more weight is kind of exciting to me, because I like what that means for the difference in my life. So as you think about your own personal goals, think about what it would really mean, and hopefully it's something that you can get excited about. But you've heard the saying, it goes something like, a dream without a plan is just a wish. So you need a plan to make your dreams come true, whatever they are. And in order to do that, you need to set goals. And I don't know if either one of you have heard this before. I certainly heard it at work, but I also hear it from Noom. You got to set SMART goals. And they use that as an acronym, SMART. So the goal has to be specific, clearly define what your goal is. It needs to be measurable, because if it's just general, I want to lose weight, it's hard to say whether I really accomplished it. So you want it to be measurable. You want it to be something that is easily determined whether or not you accomplished it. SMA. A is for attainable. It's got to be something that's realistic, that you can achieve. Yes, it might require hard work, but it's got to be attainable to be a SMART goal. R is relevant. So it needs to be aligned with your other goals in life. So relative to your big picture goals in life, relevant to. And then time-based, SMART, time-based. It has to be linked to a time frame. So it's not just that I want to lose, 20 pounds, but I want to lose it by a date. So I just made my next one. I want to lose 15, maybe 20 pounds by my birthday, March 6th. So clearly defined, yes, weight loss. It's measurable. I'll call it 15 pounds. Attainable, yes, that's definitely attainable by March 6th, and maybe even 20 pounds is. So we'll see. Is it aligned with my other goals? Absolutely. And time-based, yes, March 6th. So that's an example of my next SMART goal that's ahead of me. And whatever your goals are, just try to make it be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. All right. I want to talk a little bit about behaviors. All behavior, there's something called a behavior chain. All behaviors, good, bad, indifferent, start with a trigger. So the trigger can be environmental, it can be biological, it could be mental, it could be emotional, or it could be social. Environmental, like in my environment, in my life, I walk into the kitchen and there is a croissant out there. All right, so that's a trigger, something I see that's in my environment. That's kind of just to give you an idea of what we're talking about. Biological, I'm hungry. Mental, I'm upset, I'm sad, I'm angry. Actually, that's a little bit more of the emotional too. Social, I'm in a social environment with friends, family, whatever, at a restaurant, and that can trigger too. But these kinds of triggers for all behaviors. So you have a trigger, and the trigger leads to thoughts. Some are good thoughts, but some thoughts are going to undermine you. Those thoughts are going to lead you to an action. In my case, I'm talking about whether I'm going to eat that croissant or not. And the action will lead to consequences. They could be physical, they could be physiological, they could be psychological, and they could be emotional. So there's going to be consequences to our actions. And again, that's a behavior chain that describes every single behavior that we do. From brushing your teeth, maybe you're used to, you get up, you get in the shower, and it's just there. You're in the shower, you see the toothpaste, toothbrush, you brush your teeth. You think, okay, time to brush my teeth. You brush your teeth, and there's consequences. You've got fresh breath. But so it's every kind of behavior is going to have that behavior chain. And it's just really important to be aware of it, is that we don't just act. There's a trigger. The trigger puts some thoughts into our head. We're in control of those thoughts to a certain extent, or we can be. Then, based on those thoughts, we take our action. And that action is going to lead to consequences, which could be good or neutral or bad. All right, now I want to talk a little bit about thought distortions, because as we set up our goals, there are some thought distortions that are normal. The toughest obstacles towards achieving our goals are in our own mind. And our mind can convince us of things that aren't true. And so here's some examples. And again, it's easy to come up with eating related examples, but it applies to everything. And I think you'll recognize some of these that they hit you. One is all or nothing thinking. Everything's black or white. I ate too much for lunch again today. I'll never be able to improve my eating. I'll never, I ate this croissant and, that just proves I'm not going to be able to do this. Wrong. Second thought distortion is mind reading. You predict what others will think. People will think I'm strange if I order a salad at this restaurant. People will think I'm strange. People will think, people will think something about me if I do what I believe would be the healthier thing to do. You imagine that people are going to criticize it. The truth is that nobody is evaluating you as harshly as you're evaluating you. And if, I chose to eat a salad when everybody else was eating whatever, probably nobody would be fazed. Maybe they think, oh, she's being healthy, I should too. Who knows what? But chances are really good they're not judging me the way I'm afraid they're judging me. And it's also, in some ways, not fair. It's mind reading. I'm putting thoughts into other people's heads, and that's not my job. And it's also messing up me and could be messing up the relationship with the other person. So don't make presumptions about what other people are thinking, how they're going to judge you based on your actions heading towards your goals. Third thought distortion is unhelpful rules. Sometimes we have strict rules that we place on ourselves that mess up with our progress. So one example on eating is I should finish everything on my plate. I was raised, and I know I raised you guys to a certain extent of finish the food on your plate. There's children starving in Ethiopia, whatever. No, whether or not I finish everything on my plate is not going to make any difference for anybody in Ethiopia. And if it's making me eat more than I should, then it's just not a helpful rule. So there are unhelpful rules that we consciously or subconsciously live by, and it's good to pay attention to them so that we can ignore them when we realize that they are unhelpful and not relevant. Justification. That's when you link two unrelated ideas to justify a decision. So if I said, since I ate a salad for dinner, I can have a big dessert. Those are actually unrelated things. Now, that's not to say that I can't have a dessert, but the reason for me to have a dessert is not anything to do with whether I had a salad for dinner. It has to do with a lot of other things about nutrition and how did I eat through the rest of the day and why do I want to have a big dessert, whatever. But watch your justifications. If you come up with a reason why it's okay to ignore your goal in this particular circumstance, make sure it actually make sense because there's a lot of false justifications. Delusional thinking, convincing yourself of something that you don't really believe in order to justify a decision. And the food example is, this is just a little sliver of cheesecake, and so that doesn't really count. No, actually a sliver counts for whatever number of calories are in that sliver. It does count, and I know it counts. And so it's kind of delusional thinking if I say to myself, it doesn't. Exaggerated thinking is making something bigger than it is. I had this piece of dessert, I've blown it for the day, whatever. Sometimes just a slip up is just a little slip up, and it's a little thing. Don't turn it into a huge thing. So again, these thought distortions, and they're common for eating, but it's anything. All or nothing thinking, black or white, it's in the extreme. Mind reading is making judgments about what other people are thinking about what you're doing. Unhelpful rules that don't make sense and don't help you in the situation. Justification, false justification. You're using unrelated things to justify what you want to do. Delusional thinking, where you're convincing yourself of something that you don't really believe. And exaggerated thinking, where you turn something to more extreme than it is. So how can we overcome some of these thought distortions? You can change some of the thought distortions with counter thoughts. So just to recognize the thought distortion, see that the thought distortion is a lie, and remind yourself, okay, that's a lie, it's false. You can also change your thought distortions by changing your triggers. Like I said before, triggers can be environmental, biological, mental, emotional, or social. The social triggers are the most common and the toughest to change. Keep in mind there are both positive social triggers and negative ones. So examples of positive social triggers are people who offer healthy food options, people who compliment or praise, other people having good habits. And examples of negative are food pushers, people who are judgmental, and other people who have bad habits. We can't avoid social triggers, so try to make them work. So for example, if coworkers want to eat out, suggest a healthy restaurant. If friends suggest a happy hour, suggest a physical activity instead. So maybe we can go on a hike, maybe we can go bowling, maybe we can do something else that's going to be a little bit more positive. Maybe we can shape the social issues. And Cam, examples with you and your friends, if people have been drinking too much lately, then, maybe instead of suggesting whatever kind of part of your environment where people tend to drink a lot, maybe you can suggest some sort of activity, and there's tons of them, in the DC area, as well as things that you could do at home that aren't centered around drinking or happy hour or going to something expensive restaurant or something when you don't want to spend as much money, suggest other things. So this has turned into a longer video than I thought it would be. But that's pretty much everything that I had planned on covering for this first one. So let me know what you think. And I'm just I'll do the next one on some of the next thoughts that I got through new. Love you guys very much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.